Good morning, everyone. This is Ryan Howe with Small Business News Today. Welcome. It is May 23rd. It's already the 23rd of May, folks. We are cruising into summer here. Again, May 23rd, 2024. Again, this is the show where I come to you live every single day, Monday through Friday, here on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn to discuss and share some of the articles and information I share with my clients every single day as a small business coach here based out of West Michigan. I do have national clients. If you want to learn more how I help companies grow their businesses faster than ever thought possible, go to summitbusinessguys.com and check it out. We'll learn a little bit more about that later. So let's get into today's topics. So middle managers, if you've ever been one, or if you are one, you know the pain. It's frustrating. It's one of the most difficult positions to be in. And we'll get into that here. However, AI is coming to help. And this article that we're going to talk about recommends using AI in a way that I have been recommending for quite some time. So it's good to see that. I know everyone likes to have a little bias, right? A little confirmation bias. So I'll take a little sprinkling of that today. And the other one we're getting into is an opinion piece on strategy and leaders and what they don't get about strategy. Strategy is something I work with my clients with consistently. It's so very important that you have a good strategy and understand what strategy is. But with that, this is an opinion piece. Again, we'll get into who it's from here, where they offer their spin on what leaders don't get about strategy. So with that, let's get into it today. As always, the links to all of the articles that we're going to be discussing today are going to be linked in the description. So please check that out. And I do hope to earn your subscription today. And if you do happen to subscribe, please hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when I do go live. All right, let's get started here. This is how AI can help middle managers of the future be less miserable. What a great title. Fast Company, God bless them. Some of their editors and the clickbait, they don't have clickbait titles. However, they do a really good job on some of their titles. I love that one. Be less miserable. You'll still be miserable, but just a little bit less. All right, again, this is by Hillary Hufauer. Again, please take a moment. Again, as I said, links are all in the description. Go check them out. You'll really enjoy it. It's always best, even if you do get information from from someone like me, it's always best to make sure you go validate the information yourself. So middle managers have had a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad couple of years, decades actually. Playing the middleman between senior leadership and the frontline supervisors has always been a little miserable, but the role reached a tipping point in the 20s. Middle managers have led their employees through the pandemic, navigated the great resignation, and implemented upper management's return to office policies to disgruntled workers. That is 100% correct. Go tell them they got to get back. Man, that went over that didn't go over well. They are unsurprisingly increasingly burned out, and they become prime targets for the chopping block. 30% of laid off workers are middle managers. 30%. It's a significant number. Look no further than Meta's now famous year of efficiency, when the Zuck there said it would involve removing multiple layers of management. They cut 20,000 jobs, folks. That's pretty considerable. No wonder middle managers are the least satisfied at work and that no one really aspires to the title anymore. Where then does that leave them? It basically hung out to dry in most cases. All right. Now, again, it's one thing but keep in mind here, middle management, it's the worst of all worlds, right? You aren't necessarily in the policy making department. So you have to implement policy that's come up from above you. And you can't really affect too much change in your area because the cost controls are above you. So when your teams come to you for, hey, could we get this? Oh man, this really stinks. Could we get this changed? You have to go, well, I have to talk to such and such in leadership. All you do is pass through basically requests, complaints, very, 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 very seldom, kudos between the frontline workers and, senior management. It's one of the worst places to be, and anybody that's been there knows it's challenging. However, it is an important position because you do learn because of the rapid fire amount of conversations and some of the decisions you have to make, and frankly, in real time motivation and people skill training. You can't beat it. Yeah, you get your to go with Malcolm Gladwell there in Outliers. You get your 10,000 hours on each one of those skills, usually within the first week, because you get hit with so many things. But anyways, let's get back to this. The culling of the middle manager. As companies look to become more efficient, they're assessing whether their managers are adding any value It says Brian Hancock, partner at McKinsey & Co., author of The Power to the Middle, Why Managers Hold the Keys to the Future of Work. Ugh, man, that's just that title. It's putting middle managers at the greatest risk of losing their jobs, and in the process, the ratio of managers to doers is changing, says Nolan Church of Faircomp, who has a decade-plus experience recruiting for companies like Google and DoorDash. When the money was free-flowing, folks, we were drunk with cash through the 2010s. And, I mean, for those who are in business, think back to 2019. Was anybody worried about cash flow? Was anybody worried about money in any way, shape, or form? No. I mean, it was a wild time. Now we're not in that place anymore. When money was free flowing in the system, no one really looked at that. It said the ratio, adding that companies are now under investor pressure to cut costs as the market corrects itself from the great resignation's heights. Some jobs are also going to AI or offshore workers, he points out. It's all a sign that companies want more doers and fewer people managers. With that, you're going to have to pay your doers a bit more, folks. Just keep that in mind. You don't need a manager for 3 people. You need more people doing actual work, he says, explaining that the span of control is changing with managers overseeing larger teams, especially as they take on the work of the laid off peers. That's going to be expectations you just can't manage, he says. You have to be a player coach. And that's been something that's been, if anybody's, again, small business owners, one of the reasons I'm bringing this up here is it's understood as a small business owner, you are a player, you're a player manager. You are an owner operator is the term in a small business. You are working in the business. And that's part of, the reason that I come in and help my clients is, I come, instead of working, in the business, we're going to work on the business. And if you want to learn more about what that looks like, you can come over here to someofbusinessguys.com, check it out and learn a little bit more about what I do to help businesses, learn about some of the clients that I do help here in West Michigan and throughout the country. Again, it varies. I got credit unions, landscape. I got basically adult foster care. And again, it's just a smattering. We got production folks. I got trucking companies. I got construction. I got a great group of clients across the big spread across the board. Go check it out. You can also learn about the Pinnacle Business Operating System, which is the system of choice that I use to implement with my clients to help them grow their businesses faster than they ever thought possible. So again, please go check that out. All right, back to the article. Now, why middle managers are burned out? I mean, just talk to them; they'll tell you. But this is leaving more middle managers under extreme pressure to take on more responsibility and perform better, Church adds. Rather than just eliminate an error, Hancock says organizations need to rethink what managers should be doing and who should be in these roles. That's because many managers, some of whom have been promoted from an individual contributor role but lack leadership skills, aren't set up for success. McKinsey research finds they spend half their time on individual contributor and admin work rather than just managing. I will say this much. I was in the Air Force for a little over 20 years, and I was absolutely shocked by the lack of supervisor and leadership training that the average individual gets, the amount of time and energy that companies spend on that. I was 19 when I had my first basically leadership supervisory management course. I was 19. I had literally just been in the Air Force for a minute, and they're like, yo, you're going to this course because you're going to need it. And every basically year or so, I was getting another leadership or management course, constant training on that. So when I came out here, I was like kind of blown away at just the lack of concern about it. It's so very important. But with that, it's understood they don't have it. Now, when the administrative burden is high, when they have their own individual work they need to do, when they have to be in meetings, and at the end of the day, they also have people who have their own needs, that's where they're getting burned out because there's so much on their plate. Mid-level managers reported the highest level of anxiety and worst work-life balance in 2022. Of course they did. This didn't get better by the time the software company Capterra published a survey in February, which found nearly 3/4 of middle managers are feeling overwhelmed, stressed, and burned out. Yes, that's the number. I'm surprised it's not higher. But companies don't care about that right now, Church says. The only thing companies care about is results and performance. No, that's not true. And I'm going to disagree with Church. The leadership and the owners of the company, they actually do care about their team members, but they're in a position where they've got to get performance too. So I'm not actually going to believe that. I talk to way too many. I mean, the number of senior leaders that I talk to in a given week and over the last year, they are absolutely concerned about their folks. but they're at a crossroads right now, but they still need performance, and they're trying to figure out, while having to maintain performance because they need cash flow to pay their employees, they're trying to work through and figure out how can we better get the right tools or training to help these folks. Again, that's a lot of the conversations, a lot of work that I do with my clients. So I don't, church is wrong on that. They do care about their folks. All right. Now, if people are burned out, companies will terminate and find a replacement quickly. I don't see that. If you're seeing that, please put a note in the comments. Just let me know. Let us all know where you work, so we can avoid that place, because that is not the type of folks you want to be with. Now, how AI can help middle managers. This is why reimagining the middle manager role is so important. It involves thinking about individual career paths where people can grow in pay and responsibility. Hancock says this allows workers advancement outside of management, leaving middle managers' roles open for those with the right skills. But organizations also need to simplify and streamline administrative tasks. He says he thinks generative AI, which is what we talk about on this show quite a bit. Generative AI is going to be is where we're going to see the biggest gains for companies as far as helping out management, helping out individual workers. And you see it already, and it's the ability for what it can do. So let's go down here what they consider here. Consider a mid-level law associate who typically manages junior attorneys' legal briefs. Generative AI may be able to produce a first draft of these, Hancock says, allowing the associate to coach the junior attorney on critical thinking skills rather than drafting. This also leaves them with time to handle more cases. And I'm going to leave it there for that one. And that's where I want all of you to be thinking about how to leverage AI. Don't think of it as something that is going to replace people. You want to use it as a tool to help your current staff do better, free them from some of the menial tasks that are out there. Again, drafting doing a first draft, like I said, on a legal brief. Why not use, again, ChatGPT, or you have your own, to say, hey, brief me a draft and such with the following this, and it kicks out an 80% product that you're at that point you're just doing Mad Libs, right? Making looking for nouns and adjectives to make it make sense for what you have. Free your folks up, because then they can spend more time, on additional research that they have to do, to better certify their legal brief, which is what lawyers want to do anyways. You guys love research. It's like your favorite thing. So anyways, that's where I want you guys to think about here, middle management. Save your middle managers. They have a lot of enterprise value just from the knowledge that they have. Don't look to jettison folks just because they're getting burned out. Find ways to get them the tools that they need. Again, leader's job, your responsibility is to organize, train, and equip your teams. Organize, train, and equip. Those three things. If you look at the burnout reason for your team and you see it has to do with organization, training, or they don't have the right equipment, that's your fault. That's not theirs. That's your fault. You need to get that fixed. All right, so let's get into this next spot here. This next one is going to be from Inc.com. Again, links to all these articles are in the description. Now, what most leaders don't get about strategy. Again, this is an opinion piece from Inc.com. Most leaders are so focused on what to do, they lose sight of the bigger objectives. Here's how to stay above the fray. As a reminder, strategy is, your strategy should not be doing what everyone else does, but doing it better. Your strategy needs to be focused on how are you doing something different and leveraging that to cultivate value for your clients. If you're not sure what that means and don't fully understand that, it's fine. Send me a note. You can reach out to me at summitbusinessguys.com and I'll help you work through that. For many leaders, strategy is simply a buzzword for what competitors have that they don't. It's not a buzzword. It's literally, that's what their strategy is. To some, it's a heavy word requiring throngs of smart brains devising a clever approach to beating out the competition, which is often unobtainium. Oh boy. That's one thing, again, with Inc.com. Their editors like to use some clever words at times, kind of distracting. All right. To others, it's simply an overall description of the daily tactical actions they take in their business. In modern times, many leaders and companies don't believe they have the time or the luxury to sit around for weeks on end devising the perfect strategy. Anyways, businesses facing challenges require action that is disciplined, focused, and dynamic. Still, sought after business transformation expert, Young President's Organization member Bridget Lombard starts with strategy when fixing a failing company or taking one from mediocre to new heights. You always start with strategy. Yeah, absolutely. Lombard built and transformed several global brands, including accessory brand Penguin, running brand Nathan Sport, and running brand Nathan Sports. Clarifying the confusing definitions in dictionaries and consulting blogs, Lombard defines business strategy specifically as a dynamic and living framework that guides a company's efforts to create sustainable value by readily adapting to changing scenarios. I like that from a strategy implementation point of understanding that this is going to be a dynamic and living framework. I like it. Strategy is based on courage and curiosity. Lombard has observed that strategies often don't work when focused primarily on internal needs, capabilities, and board or investor desires. Those objectives rarely consider the real and sometimes scary external forces. She stresses that leaders need to enthusiastically gather information from a range of sources beyond stakeholder perspectives, including macroeconomics, industry, consumer trends, competitor data, and most critically, customer insights. Absolutely. I cannot overstate that. The chances that you working in your business day to day have a good understanding, you as an individual, you as a team, have a good understanding of all the data endpoints and all the industry trends and things that are going on. It's not very good. You have to specifically go out and research all of these things, find every bit of data you can, and then implement it. Unsound strategy is often built solely on what we believe we know and what we desire. Admitting and openly exploring what we don't know is not only more courageous, but often more effective than sticking with what we know. Yeah. Again, I love let curiosity lead the way. Like I said, with a lot of my clients, don't be afraid to go chase some of those things. Worst case scenario is you put it in the book of bad ideas that this isn't something we should have spent time on, but you did go and research it and you took it off the list. A strategy must create sustainable value. Absolutely. Lombard often sees leaders focus on short-term financial targets. This rarely leads to increasing value. Sorry about that. Value is defined as what customers are willing to pay for a highly discernible difference between your company's offering versus that of competitors in your space. I like that. I like that. Let me say it one more time. Value is defined as what customers are willing to pay for a highly discernible difference between your company's offerings versus that of competitors in your space. An example I use a lot of that has to do with McDonald's and Burger King. People will pay for a Big Mac. I mean, maybe not now. I mean, the prices are crazy, but let's say go back 4 years. Well, they'll pay for a Big Mac meal and go to McDonald's because it's completely different than the Whopper. Vice versa, they'll go to the Whopper because it's a lot better than the Big Mac and or the quarter pounder with cheese. Although the McDLT, when they did have it, for those that are old enough to remember, that was a phenomenal burger. Anyways, in a scaling business or turnaround, the goal is to transform the company to meet the needs of the customer, consistently resulting in increased market share. Lombard states, understanding what is valuable to your customer over time is the basis for a strong strategy. Absolutely. All right. Strategy begins and ends with belief. Many times Lombard here CEOs share their frustration that the strategy wasn't the problem. It was the execution. Strategy is not a standalone process. Execution needs to be baked in and considered from the onset. Lombard believes company-wide understanding, alignment, and ultimately belief are essential for the success of the strategy. Here's what she suggests. Communicate the so what. Lombard insists leaders must transmit the why. Absolutely. And this has been pretty straightforward right? I mean, we've just learned employees expect to know why the heck they're doing the work they're doing. Like that is a best known strategy. Don't just say do it because I said so. Get into the why. Most employees are savvy enough to understand exactly what's going on with these things. All right. Get everyone involved early. Absolutely. Engage teams in asking questions about what they see as the advantage, disadvantages, and customer sentiments. Absolutely. Your teams, they work closely with the customer. Your lowest level employees, they're working on the problem. Get their feedback. Absolutely. Now, ensure your strategic links directly to specific initiatives. Absolutely. You want to connect the dots. Feels it's critical to make sure the teams are clear about the decisions and actions for which they are responsible. You want to make sure you have that as clear as possible. It should be connecting, connect the dots. And I was just talking with this yesterday with a client. We had with one of my clients about when we were looking at our overall projects that we do. At the end of you start at the end of the project, right? As your first step, you go and figure out, okay, what is this? When this project is done, what should it be delivering? And the way that I coach them is like, what is the end user going to do with whatever this project finishes, right? So we were talking about checklist or whatever like that. So we say, hey, with this checklist, what is this checklist going to provide for the end user? And we worked through the verbiage to make sure it was very clear on exactly what this checklist was going to provide for the individual who's going to be using it. So that's what I just want you to keep in mind there, folks, is always do some sort of specific initiative. Keep the end user in mind. All right. Celebrate specific behaviors. Absolutely. You should be. Lombard observes that leaders often highlight outcomes without sharing how the results were achieved. She stresses that when teams hit goals or milestones, celebrate and highlight what specific behaviors drove the results. So this practice becomes repeatable for teams. I love hearing every bit of that. Again, Lombard strongly believes that strategy succeeds best when leaders are honest, courageous, and collaborative and can align to strategy. She emphasizes, remember one thing about strategy. It's an ever-evolving dance of living in curiosity, driving execution, and being adaptable. I like that article. I like that one a lot. If you get the opportunity, please check that. Again, link to this article from Inc.com is in the description. And again, strategy, again, it's about, it is first and foremost, what are you doing that's different? What are you doing that is going, and how the way that you are delivering value to your clients? That is what strategy comes down to. Absolutely love that. So let's go over what we talked about today. And hope I earned your subscription today. If I have, make sure you hit that notification bell so you can get notified when I do come live here. So you can hop on the chat with me. So again, AI is coming to help middle managers, and we talk about generative AI. That's how I want you using that generative AI. Use it to take care of some of the menial work, like the example given in the article that we had from Fast Company was, you want that article or that AI to do, in this case, create a brief, an 80%, 90% product of a brief that then you go in and work with the manager, then go in with the team and fill out the rest and make it, work for what they needed to be there. That's what you need to be using AI for. And it's out there. It's available to use. If you're not sure how to go about it, reach out to me, someofbusinessguys.com, and check it out. And then as we just finished up that opinion piece on strategy there with Lombard. It was great. I highly recommend everybody takes a second, go down into the description and go check out those articles. So with that, that's all I have for you today. Again, my name is Ryan Howe with Small Business News. You can find me here every single day, Monday through Friday, usually between 8 and 9 p.m. a.m. Not p.m. Eastern. Unless I have client work. I started a little bit early today because I do have client work that I got to get to. So with that, good talking with y'all.